Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day brought to you by 5mind.com. You know, it's real interesting. There's so many inconsistencies within the left-wing worldview, and I think most of that is born from the fake virtue and fake intellectual superiority of the left. They've created all these ideological sandcastles right on the beach's shore, and then of course what happens when you've built an ideology around lies, around confirming your own bias or signaling virtue. Well, once the tide of truth comes in, pretty much everything collapses. And I think nowhere is that more true than on the issue of immigration, cultural relativism, and of course narratives about the West. You know, we've seen this very bizarre thing happening in Western politics for really decades at this point, where people will look at you straight in the eye and they'll tell you that the West is this deeply oppressive, backwards, racist, irredeemable, colonial hellscape. And of course, all of that's a massive virtue signal to paint yourself as the most virtuous. Everybody is everybody, and everything and everywhere is equal, and if you dare suggest otherwise, well then you're an irredeemable racist, right? But then for some odd reason, in the next breath, when the issue of remigration or deportation comes up, all of a sudden it's literally the worst thing that could ever happen is that person being sent back to their home country that supposedly they love so much, and right, most of the times is even better than America, because America's so deeply vile and racist. America's the monster. And in this case, we're talking about Somalia, Mogadishu in Somalia. Well, that's the utopia, right? God forbid you suggest I go back. It's just these constant contradictions. You know, the ideology doesn't frickin' make sense. It's totally backwards, and obviously, the narrative is set in real time to defend whatever the ideological position is. You know, now that people's temporary work status is being revoked, now that the truth about certain immigrant groups is being revealed, now that the mass fraud is being tackled and people are being sent back and visas are being revoked, well, all of a sudden we're supposed to feel guilty. We're supposed to feel obligated, feel responsible for the emotional distress that some people are going through based on their own actions. But I'll tell you, I'm just not with it. No, I think it's seriously time for remigration. I think it's time for a total realignment of Western immigration views as a whole. But anyways, I feel like I'm getting sidetracked a little bit in the intro. I want to show you guys a couple viral videos and just talk about some of the topics that I was introducing there. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so of course we've been covering the conversation relating to Somali immigration fraud, Somali gangland violence, the abuse of entitlements, the entitlements fraud and then sending money back home, a lot of that cash then ending up in the banks of terrorist organizations. And so obviously there's been a whole lot of focus on this particular group these days, and now we're getting hit with videos like this online.
I've booked my flight. By the end of this year, I'm moving to Somalia full time, bro. The West does not want us here anymore, so it's cool, we're cutting. You man are saying all roads lead to Rome. I'm saying all roads lead to Somalia, bro. I'm gonna start up a new life there. I don't know who I'm gonna meet. I might meet some criminals on the run, but that's live. I'm tired of London. I'm tired of Northwest London. I'm tired of this whole city, bro. All roads lead to Rome. Bar now, all roads are leading to Mogadishu, Somalia, bro. I'm moving. I'm gone. Muslim country, we're gonna rebuild our country from the ground up, and I'm gonna be the first one to do it, bro. Let's go. End of this year, it's to Somalia. Here we go.
Cool. Good luck to ya. Nobody is stopping you. But I find it funny because, you know, this is one video in isolation, but I'm sure you guys have seen so many other videos. Suddenly there's this mass campaign to glorify Mogadishu and Somalia. We're seeing all these AI videos and drone shots of their beaches, fancy TikTok edits. Look at how beautiful Somalia is. It's more beautiful than your backwards hick town of Alabama. But this, of course, is the same energy that we saw after Trump called Haiti a, quote, country. Then everyone started losing their minds and posting vacation promos in 5-star resorts like freaking Conan O'Brien, that complete moron. Look how beautiful Haiti is. I'm in a pool sipping a margarita. Meanwhile, their entire government was just taken over by a gang warlord named Barbecue. But it's always the same emotional strong arm. How dare you criticize this place? Look how pretty the coastline is. This place is just like America. In fact, it's even better. And of course, this creates a little bit of a weird paradox. On one hand, the argument is always our homeland is basically a utopia. We love it. Our allegiance is to our homeland. How many times have we heard that? Our allegiance is to Somalia. It's not to Britain. It's not to America. It's not to France or Germany or Italy or Canada. But then the moment you say, okay, well, fair enough. If your country's so beautiful, maybe, I don't know, go back if your allegiance isn't here. And then, of course, the tone instantly shifts now, doesn't it? No, don't send me back. That is cruel. So which one is it? Is it an amazing homeland that you're so proud of? Or is is it a dysfunctional and dangerous place that you do not want to go back to? You know, I just don't understand how you can hold both positions at the same time. Well, I say that, but of course I do understand. They hold whatever position is beneficial in the moment to hold more leverage. It's an ideology rife with contradiction. America's this, America's that. Then of course you get sent back home, and that's where the propaganda ends.
أنا معهم ملنا دبي أنت اللي وضو باسبوركي ولا قاطي وعلي ساوك جرا أنتو قفوا إمبسي لزال لكورو إلا كبغض لسوال عند علي. I don't want to be here no more. I'm so tired of being here. This place, this is where I'm living. I'm so tired of it. Just like I want to go back. I don't want to be here no more. I just want to go back.
And you know, I'm reading the comments on all these videos that are going viral all over social media now, like this, and I'm seeing so many people in the comment section saying, oh my gosh, this poor man. Now, I don't agree with illegal immigration, but this is just cruel. What is cruel? Sending an alleged gang member, who this guy apparently is, who's connected to terrorist organizations as well, sending him back to his homeland where he's not at risk. It's just a different standard of living. Somehow, that's the saddest thing. And the West now has to collapse, not to hurt this man's feelings. I just don't get it. I can't wrap my head around it. How the conversation is always framed around individual people and their losses, their feelings, their tears, mostly the consequences of their own actions, and never about the more macro view or the host country that's getting the shit end of this deal. Let's be real. Why is America obligated to provide everybody a better life? Oh, you don't have a big flat screen TV and 2 iPhones and a big Ford F-150? You don't have a 3,000 square foot home in a suburb with a nice 2-car garage? Oh well, the humanity. Grant this man asylum immediately. The whole premise is stupid. Why is it our job to bail the world's poor out of the reality of their own failing nation? I can't wrap my head around it. And when you see the studies, I mean, we've seen the data these days. Studies showing that migrants from certain regions of the world, mostly North, East Africa, and of course the Middle East, well, they end up costing taxpayers insane amounts of money over their lifetimes. We're talking about anywhere from $300 to over $1 million over their lifetime. That is the total cost of the welfare, the housing subsidies, the healthcare, the crime, meaning they're a net drain on the nation. I'm struggling to understand the benefit, the math, outside of multinational corporations who of course benefit from bringing the masses into the nation, paying them substandard wages because they have bloated the workforce so tremendously and it allows them to do that. And then of course they could pay these people substandard wages because the government then comes in with a bunch of freaking subsidies. I understand the major corporations are benefiting, but what about the host nation? What about the country? What about the voters, the sons and daughters of the nation? What about those people? Yeah, they're chopped liver, I guess, right? And then I also think, what about the home nation itself? What about Somalia? In that earlier video that you saw, the young kid ranting says, we're gonna go back to Somalia and make it great. Well, why don't you do that? That's another part of this whole mass migration scam that I can't wrap my head around. We're importing poverty, crime, foreign theological ideologies that want to displace and destroy us. We're importing foreign political wars and tensions into our nation, and we're not even getting a net tax benefit to it. No, the people we're importing are a drain on the system. They take more than they pay back in taxes. And meanwhile, in the backdrop, their home nations are getting abandoned. You've got young military-age men, the ones who probably should be rebuilding, defending, and modernizing their own cities. Instead, they're coming here to have all kinds of children, mooch off the welfare system, and show zero regard and zero respect for our culture, our standards, our tradition. And you know, that's where I really break with these leftoids, because they see that video of this guy, I'm back in Mogadishu, it's the worst thing ever, bro. I don't have SNAP benefits for my hot Cheetos anymore. And that is the worst thing they've seen all week, but I'm looking at that and I'm saying, that's where all your men should be. Back at home, building your nation. If your country is in turmoil, if you're under an authoritarian regime, well then again, you shouldn't be fleeing, you should be fighting a war for freedom, like our ancestors did. The reality is, we owe the world nothing. And everything at the end of the day is a transaction, it's business. You know, you could get caught up in the conversation of emotions with the left, you could let them guilt trip you. I don't give a crap about any of that. For me, it's very simple cost-benefit analysis. Which migrants benefit the nation? What groups are thriving? What groups are doing well? What groups are contributing to our society? Those are the groups that should be prioritized, and those coming from parts of the world that simply are not compatible with our way of life, well, it's just not a valid work relationship. It doesn't work. Our culture or ideologies do not match. In many cases, they are diametrically opposed. We're importing crime. We're importing problems. Now it seems like every week across Western nations is another massive disruptive event relating to some land dispute or racial grievance or cultural religious battle between two groups. And me personally, I just don't want any of it. I want to live in a culturally cohesive, low crime environment. And if particular groups are getting in the way of that, well then in my view that's an issue. We're not benefiting, the host nation's not benefiting. These people should be staying in their nations, building and fighting for a better life there. Personally, I could not care less about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I could not care less about what's going on in the Middle East or Northern Africa. I could not care less about what's going on between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I don't want to import any of their problems. I don't want to be involved in any of their problems. I don't want to be saving the world's poor. I care about my friend Peter, who I grew up with, who cannot afford a home. I care about our college graduates who have been sold a false bill of goods, who did everything right, went to school, got the degrees, and are now being displaced in the workplace. I care about our standard of living, our domestic way of life. I care about the preservation of our culture, our society, and everything else, frankly, can get bent. It's time to start making decisions that are grounded in preservation, that are born from logic and not emotion. It's time to stop being the world's freaking punching bag, and it's time to realize that we cannot save the world from itself. Gotta put some agency in their own freaking hands. Gotta let them write their own stories, their own futures, as we focus on our own. Anyways, that's just what's on my mind. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.